So we're going to look at how to graph a sine function given the rule this time. And we're going to recall certain concepts that we just mentioned. So you can take a pause and write these down. So period is equal to pi over b. Amplitude is always the absolute value of the letter a. Max is equal to k plus the a. The minimum is k minus the a. And these will be our little rules that we're going to do. So we're going to draw one cycle of each graph. And we're going to take these rules into account so that we could work with it. I'm going to start with the first one. You can pause the video if you want to take down the notes. Okay, so I'm starting off with this question, which is y equals 2 sine of pi over 2 x minus 1 minus 1. So I'm going to just draw Cartesian plane as best as I can here. I don't know where this graph's going to go, but I see that there's a 1 and a minus 1. So I'm going to go with drawing this over here. All right, so the first thing it says I have to identify h and k. So I'm going to identify h and k. My h is equal to 1, my k is equal to minus 1. Since that my h is a minus 1, I could go with labeling my x-axis by ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, I need to know how far I should go. That would tell me and how high I need to go. And that's where it's this draw the rectangle. I need to put my point first. So 1 and 1. My first point is located here. This will be my h and my k. Now it says I need to draw a rectangle at the height of 2a. That means I need to know what my amplitude is. So my amplitude is 2 times 2 because it's 2a, right? So this is 2a. That means my rectangle needs to be 2 on top and 2 on the bottom. So I'll make that like this. The tallest is 1, 2. Oh, actually, I just realized I put my point in the wrong place. This is not where it should be. It's minus 1. I didn't put the proper point. The point is right here. Minus 1. Okay, so it has to be 2 above from this. So 1 and 2, that's the maximum of my height of my rectangle. And I'll do that in a little dotted. And the lowest will be 1 and 2. A little bit lower, right there. Now, that's going to be maximum height. That will be the minimum height. You can see this is going to be the middle. Now I need to figure out the length of it. So the length of my graph must be the period. So the period is designated by, we said, 2 pi over b, which is going to be 2 pi over 2, which needs to be calculated as the reciprocal of the second fraction. The 2 pi's cancel out and you're left with 4. So again, now you have your period of 4. So that means if you were to start right here, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're going to go to 5. So there's one cycle. Your cycle is going to be within this, and then there'll be another cycle within that. So what you do now is you look at the fact that it's A is positive and B is positive. So if A is positive and B is positive, it will be bigger than 0. So you go up from the h and k. Up where? Up to the next level. Now, where is the next level? Well, if your period is 4, that means in the middle. So you kind of have to always know where the middle is. The middle of this period, it's going to come back to that 0, to that center. So it's going to have a center here and then another center here. I'll do those in red, actually. That doesn't matter. I'll do them in green. So you have your centers because it's going to be an S. However, it has to come back to the end at the S, but it goes up first. And when it goes up, it's going to be in the middle of this middle. So up, make this in blue. And then once it hits the middle, it's going to go down. And there you have your S. So if you want to trace it, you've got your one cycle. And there it is. And then you continue if you want in the next one. You can go, well, that's going to be the middle, that's going to be the other middle, that's going to be the top, that's going to be the bottom. And you could continue it like that. All right, let's go to the next one. Pretty similar, except this time my x-axis is going to be in pies. And you're like, what is pi? Well, pi over 2 literally represents a decimal number. So you don't want that decimal to be written down like as 1.57. So you can just start off as labeling pi over 2. I'm going to go with pi over 2 over here, and that would be 2 pi over 2. I'm skipping 2 spaces. This would be 3 pi over 2. This would be 4 pi over 2. I'll just go to 6 pi, because I couldn't, 5 pi over 2, and then 6 pi over 2. If you want, you could think that this is the middle of that, which would have been pi over 4. But I'm just going to go like that. Okay, so identify h and k. So h and k is pi over 2 and 1. So if this is 1, that's 2. So pi over 2 and 1 is right here. That's my first thing. Now I have to figure out the height. So the height's going to be 3 because amplitude is 3. So I'm going to go count up 1, 2, and 3. So my little rectangle will be 1, 2, and 3, I said. And 1, 2, and 3 down here. My rectangle starts here. It's not very straight. There we go. And now our period, well, what's our period? Well, our period is going to be 2 pi over the absolute value of b, which happens to be pi. Now, how do I count pi from here? Well, look, from here to here, it's half a pi. And then from here to here is another half a pi. So there's my end of it, which is 3 pi over 2. So from here, 4 pi over 2 minus pi over 2 is 3 pi over 2. We want it to be 2 pi over 2. So 3 pi over 2 minus pi over 2 is going to be pi, and that is what our period is. So if you're not sure about that, just think about it. From here to here is half a pi, and from here to here is another half a pi. Half a pi plus half a pi is 1 pi. So there's our cycle. Then we look at it. A times B is positive. That means it's going to be increasing. And since it's increasing, we're going to go up from the middle. And we have to have another middle in the middle of the middle and another middle over here. Again, it's going to go up and then go down. And there's your S. And if you want, you can go middle, middle, up, and down, and just continue this. And that's how you draw it. All right. That's the end of that concept of finding the rule and then drawing it from a given rule. We're going to look at an application question next so that we could figure out how is the sine applied in terms of reading it from a problem so we can understand what's going on. We'll just look at this page and make it a single page. Okay, so essentially here it says a Ferris wheel with a radius of 20 meters makes a complete rotation every 30 seconds. Now I have an arrow next to this 30 seconds because if it's done every 30 seconds, that means that's one period. The radius is 20. That means here is 20, and the rest of it is also 20. Passengers get on the ride at the bottom, which is 1 meter from the ground. When Kate gets on the ride, it starts to move at a constant speed of 1 rotation every 30 seconds. Just again, reiterating that it's 1 cycle for 30 seconds. Write the equation in the form of y equals a sine b, x minus h plus k. Okay, we're going to draw a picture first because I need to understand my picture, but I need to put this on a graph so I could come up with an equation. Now, I want you to remember that any graph you make, you could look at it as a perspective of a sine or a cosine. We didn't do the cosine yet, but I'll show you how to get it from the sine. So in this case, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, I need to figure out what is its max. So the max is 1 and all the way to 40 meters. So it's going to be 41 meters. The minimum is at 1 meter. It starts off at 0 seconds. So your start off in problems is starting off at 0 seconds and it goes all the way to the 30 seconds. So that's your period. So if your period is 30 seconds, already I could work with the letters A and B. So A is amplitude. Let me just draw the picture here. So it starts off at 1 and it goes all the way to 41 meters. When she starts off right here at 0 seconds. Then, I don't know, I'll go with 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. By the time the 30 seconds are done, you're back to 1 meter. So somewhere obviously in the middle, because that's the length of it, the middle of the middle, you've hit the 41. So when I draw it, all I really have is this. And you're like, that's not a sine function, that's an upside down u. And I did say that u's are cosines, but it doesn't matter because you could make this as a sine. Now all you need to do is remember, instead of using this as your starting point, it has to be over here in the middle somewhere. If that's the middle, I'm just drawing kind of like, and then it would finish here. So this cycle to here would be 30, or this cycle to here will be 30. We're going to look at it as a sine. So how are you going to get this point? How do you know h and k? I mean, you would think it would be this, but it's not, because in the sine function, it's in the middle somewhere. So first of all, you need to identify your a. Your a is going to be your max minus your min divided by 2. So your max is 41 minus your 1 divided by 2, which makes 20. So I already know my a. Then I need my b. So my b is equal to 2 pi over the period. So we know that 2 pi will always be the number on top. The period will be the 30 seconds. You can reduce this to pi over 15. Great. Now, what do we do to get the h? Well, the h is going to be, so if your starting point, your initial starting point, plus a quarter of the period. It's always going to be a quarter of the period. It shifts over a quarter of the period. So what's a quarter of the 30? 30 divided by 4 is 7.5. That's your h. So initial point plus pi over 4, period over 4 is going to be your h. So initial point plus period over 4 is equal to your h for the sine function. The cosine function would have been from here all the way down. So let's look at what that is going to look like in terms of a graph of an equation. So we're going to have y is equal to a, which we said is going to be 20, sine of the b, and then x plus or minus 7.5 plus k. Now the k, oh, forgot to talk about the k. The k is going to be the middle, so it's going to be, we did talk about that formula before, so k is equal to max minus a, or k is equal to min plus a. So our k is equal to the max, which is 41, minus the 20, and that makes 21. So we put 21 up here. And that's our final formula. Now this is increasing, so that means the a times the b is bigger than 0, and that's going to make that the a is positive and the b is also positive, or the a is negative and the b is negative. Both have to be the same sign. And that's how you would draw this out in terms of what it looks like. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully that's understood. And now you can kind of start graphing, and you can start interpreting the rules. Let's see, we're going to say goodbye, and we'll go on to more application questions and the cosine function in the next video.